morning from wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Just Us with Khutso.
And Emily.
All right. Well, in our show, we talk about everyday issues in a way that we hope unites the world. And Emily, you just woke up over there. It's like 7 in the morning, right?
It's true. Yes. Bright and early over here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Actually, a sunny day.
Yeah. Well, you're looking awake. I'm ready to go to bed because it's bedtime over here. We can never quite get the timing right, hey?
Well, you're looking great. You're looking great for bedtime and being tired.
Well, you know what? You're very kind. It's called, a little lipstick. You know the lipstick trick. Speaking of all the girl tricks, today we're going to talk about the biggest girl thing in the world. Yes? Hair.
Hair, yes. We thought we'd keep it light today.
Yeah, let's keep it nice and light. So where do we start?
Well, I wanted to share with you the story of when I was last in South Africa. And when I was visiting you, I went to the local mall and went to your local hairdresser. And after that experience, I have been wanting to come back to South Africa just to get my hair done. It was the most phenomenal hairdresser experience I have had in my life. And I thought, is this normal here, or is this just a special, hairdresser? But I show up and, for a very economical price. Not only did they do a fabulous haircut, of which you can see in our picture for our Facebook page and our vlog page.
Our official Just Us photo, yes?
Yeah, that was the result of the haircut I got. So very good haircut. But that was just a very minor part of that whole experience because I got a hand massage, I got offered a glass of wine, I got a fancy meal, and I got the most phenomenal head massage that you ever have had in a hairdresser. So, it made me think about your experiences getting your hair done, because recently I got my hair done here and it was not quite the same extent as South Africa. But not only that, I didn't quite get the haircut that I had asked for. And I thought, I don't know what it is, but it is pretty challenging to get a haircut. You go in there and it's a gamble. Get a good haircut. You go in there and it's a gamble. You're going to either get a good haircut or you're going to get a bad haircut, and you walk out and you just got to live with it. There's nothing we can do. And I thought, like, you're so lucky. You have a whole different set of options. Your experience must be so different. So that's where we landed with this show. I was like, Khutso, what's it like to get your hair done?
Yeah. And what is it like to just have my hair? I'm wondering what it's like to have your hair. Right? All of us have a set of, what is it called? A head of hair. Yeah. And it's just amazing. I mean, there's just such politics around here. That's not where we're going with this, whether it says anything to have your hair done one way or the other. We just want to talk about what it's like to live with our own hairs, right? With our own head of hair. And heads of hairs everywhere, hair.
Let's stick with the head right now. Let's stick with the head.
On the head.
We're not going to talk about Brazilians today. I'm not going to go there.
We're just going to stick about the neckline.
A clean show.
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying I'm glad you had a phenomenal experience at the mall right around the corner from where I live, but that experience is by no means standard around here. I mean, I think you probably went to one of the shishi ones over here. Well, you know what? I get my hair done at the exact same mall. And given that I have very different hair than you, I got my afro hair, and most of the time I wear braids just because for me, they're convenient. You can just wash and go. I actually have only a couple of options. I'm very conservative that way. It's either I braid my hair or I wear it short and natural, like a short little afro. So I keep vacillating between the two, but there are a million and seven options that people with my head texture, that they do. I mean, I actually had my little guy over here a few minutes ago while we were setting up, and he says, "Mama, what are you guys going to talk about today?" I said, "Oh, we're just going to talk about hair." He says, "Yeah, but your hair changes every month." That's very true. I can buy my hair piece and I can just wear it, without any hair pieces. So,
and this is where
well, you know what? On the other hand, if you don't, I find personally, I think it's just a matter of personal preference. I find braids the easiest to deal with, but people do all sorts of things that they also find easy to deal with. I mean, with braids, you can pretty much choose any style you want. You can sit there all day and have them, make you very long braids, or you can sit half a day and have them make them, like medium length or very, very short. Yeah, but it's a time investment, right? With your hair, when you go to the hairdresser, you don't have that experience. And yes, I could get my hands massaged and whatnot if I went to a shishi kind of hair place, but the process there is very different. Getting your hair braided takes a very long time. Really, how long does it take to get your hair done? Like, what do you normally do? You don't go for braids. We know that. Oh, what do you do?
I heard that to get braids, especially long braids, it can take all day.
Depending on the thickness. Yeah.
I don't know what kind of hairstyle I could get that would take all day, but it better be phenomenal.
How long does yours take normally?
So this is a good question because it depends on if you have to dye your hair, and to dye my hair does take much longer. And I have spent 3 hours at the hairdresser.
And that's what's long for you?
That's long. That's really long.
Are you serious?
Some people can go in and out in 20 minutes. This is
wow.
Depending
and they come
on
up with like a real decent haircut.
Yeah, you can get a decent haircut as long as you don't need to color it. And I think, I was thinking about it. It's like, why is it that a haircut with, my type of hair is so unpredictable? And, that's because there are so many different types of hair. It can be a little bit frizzy, a little bit wavy. It can be pure. And the only way you're going to get a consistently good haircut is if you straighten it like I've done with mine. And otherwise, the hairdresser really needs to pay good attention to how your hair is going to react to that hairstyle. I think it's a little bit more of a science than just an art. But often I don't think the hairdressers think about that.
Yeah.
And this is no criticism to hairdressers. This is not a hairdresser bashing.
So tell me, is your hair, I've known you for over 20 years. And we just kind of, we just go in and out of our lives without really scrutinizing each other's hair. But is your hair naturally wavy, curly? Is that straight for you?
Yeah. Well, that brings a good question on. So with our hair can change after pregnancy. So my hair used to be a lot more curly. And with
that's what I thought.
So
yeah, when we were in New Zealand, your hair look was a lot curlier.
Right. So what about you? Do you have the hormonal effect?
I think probably affects my hair thickness more than anything else. Yeah, maybe. There've been times when I'm like, oh, when I wear my short hair, of course, with braids, they're fake, right? You can buy whatever you like. You don't even need to dye them. You can buy a hair piece, whatever you like. But with my short hair, the texture does change, and I haven't quite figured out, what the new texture looks like. Because I feel like it changes every month, also depending on how long you wore your braids for, and did you have it treated before you put on your braids, or or how long did you wear it totally just natural, unadulterated for. Also, and then the humidity in the air, and it's a science.
Two questions. One is, I've heard, especially if you straighten your hair, that there is a plethora of products you need to put in, and it can be quite an intensive chemical process.
Yeah.
And then my other question is, I also heard that even with braids, there's a bit of care that's involved, especially when you go to bed at night. And so tell us about that. This is
All right, we're
fascinating.
gonna.
This is the first time, as you said, in 20 years, we've been able to talk about something as everyday as hair.
Yes, we just rock up with our heads, right? And get on.
Looking fabulous.
Yeah. Where do I start? Hair straighteners. I personally am not a big proponent of hair straighteners. Just because the chemicals, my hair, my natural hair, my short afro hair, just cannot deal with that. I have very soft hair, so the straighteners are a little harsh, and it just makes my hair very flat. So I actually don't even think I've ever. I think I tried it once in my whole life, or maybe twice. Um, and yeah, that involves, I mean, some people deal with straight hair very well. I mean, they find it really convenient because they know what to do. I just have never learned what to do with that, option. So I just don't go there. So, but yeah, there are chemicals involved either way. Even with your natural hair, with braids, you would, on a daily basis, you have to put moisturizer on, because the braids really, well, I'd say afro hair to begin with requires quite a bit of moisture. And I don't know why, because I find with other hair types, like, my husband and who's Caucasian and my kids who are mixed, so to speak, they are, they don't, it's like the oil on the scalp irritates them. And I've heard that from a lot of my Caucasian friends also. It's like, oh, I gotta wash my hair every day. Woo! Don't be doing that. You got my kind of hair. You don't want to see hair breaking. Not do that, please. So, I mean, you end up washing your hair like once or twice a week, but daily you have to moisturize it like you moisturize your skin. And it has a plethora of different moisturizers. I mean, some just go straight into your skull. You don't feel the grease at all. And then others, I mean, there are about as many hair products and hair options as the mousse and the gel and just like you do for your hair, except for afro hair, the emphasis is always on adding moisture because our hair dries up so quickly, and it breaks. Then you can't ever grow hair if it's so brittle. For some reason.
That's really interesting because actually, we produce a lot of oil. And so if you don't wash your hair after a certain period, that's when your hair becomes really oily. Though daily, I think I've heard is extreme. You don't want to wash out those oils. They say that with, not to compare us to dogs, but they say that with dogs.
You don't want to wash a dog every day?
Right, because it's taking away the natural oils that are essential for nurturing the hair.
Yeah.
So talking about your kids, so that's an interesting, science in itself, because you're combining two different types of hair.
Yes.
And the care and the response and what you can do with it is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'd be curious to learn how you deal with your daughter's hair, your two daughters' hair, if it's really exactly the same as yours or not. But with my kids being so-called biracial, it's especially my daughter, because she likes long hair, so we have to grow out her hair, and the maintenance is quite tricky. I mean, she's first generation in my family. She's first generation so-called biracial, right? And I grew up with, I've only learned how to deal with my hair, and people I grew up with look like me, so we all had very similar hair. With her, it's like, oh Lord, beautiful child, but what do we do with this skull? And she has this thick, beautiful mane. I mean, a mane, like a lion mane. Literally.
Speaking of children, I have to walk and get my child.
Oh, okay. No problem. So yeah, with my daughter, I find ever so often we do have a girl night, a girl date, and we both go get our hair braided. But her hair doesn't hold the braids as well as mine does because hers is a lot softer. Hers is a lot wavier than mine. So within a couple of weeks, her braids fall off, whereas mine will stay for like, a month, 4 to 6 weeks. They'll still be intact. And in terms of daily maintenance, man, it was a bit of a challenge when I mean, she's 6 now. I've had 6 years of practice. But when she first came out, I was like, ooh, didn't think about this one, this part. What do we do with her? But her hair dries up quite a bit too. So it's interesting because literally her hair texture wise is smack in the middle, and even in terms of care, it's smack in the middle between my hair and my husband's, in that you do need to moisturize it a lot more than you ever would my husband's, but not as much as mine. And the curls are a lot softer than mine, and her hair can grow out. Her afro just gets like this, whereas mine stays compressed to my skull. It's just a different look. But yeah, and yeah, I've gotten her to a stage where she really doesn't mind her hair. She loves it, actually. At some point, I heard, I guess it must be, watching cartoons or whatever. She was like, "Oh, Mama, can't we straighten my hair?" I was like, "Honey, but your hair looks so beautiful, all curly." Now she's convinced that your hair looks beautiful, and it does look really quite stunning. And how about your girls? We still haven't talked about that bed night routine. I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss that one because this one is very
Uh,
interesting.
well,
Um,
we're
Tell
just
me
going to call
about your
this
girls.
we're going to call this the roaming Emily show because it seems like consistently I have to roam around my house during our show to tend to my
That's
kids.
fun.
My kids, what I have found very fascinating, because I have to fully admit that I always thought I would end up with mixed race children because that's, been my life. And I never, ever in my life anticipated having a blonde, blue-eyed child. And
So you weren't quite prepared for that either.
I was not prepared for this child that that has just this very enchanting hair. I never realized how blonde hair is just quite, they say actually most women who have blonde hair, it's actually dyed. So to maintain blonde hair, it's quite rare. I don't know if my daughter will keep hers or not, if it will just go
That's
brown.
Kira, the 3-year-old.
Yeah,
Yes.
Kira, the youngest. And anyway, her hair is very thin and very easy. It's just really easy to take care of. But my other daughter has hair that's very thick and more curly, and it is a nightmare. And let me tell you, the biggest battle with having girls is hair brushing.
Oh
They both
yes.
they both want to have they both want to have Rapunzel hair, and
Yep.
it's very appropriate they called Rapunzel Tangled instead of Rapunzel in the Disney movie, because that is our life, tangled,
Yeah.
consistently tangled.
Yeah.
The daily
No, I hear
hairbrush.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but tell us
Well,
about your nighttime routine.
I'm sorry. Oh, the bedtime routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? With my hair, and this has always been very interesting to people who are non-African, like who are non-brown skinned with my hair. Yeah. But a lot of us, it's just in the culture. I mean, you go to a black people's hair salon, black people, right? You'll find all sorts of hair wraps because when we go to bed, most of us, or many of us, wrap our hair, like, because your braids will get all over, and all that moisturizer you put on, remember, you're not going to wash it out in the morning, right? It's going to get all over your face and whatnot, and sometimes when you have really long braids, they can get caught, in your back or whatever when you're trying to roll over and stuff. So I sleep with a bandana on. I vacillate between a bandana and a buff. Whatever is there, but I gotta wrap my hair when I go to bed. And in fact, if I don't wrap my hair, I can't sleep very well because I just feel like, oh gosh, there's just something missing. It's like a body part is missing, you know. But I know you can't do that with my husband. I can't even get my kids to do that. But kids are kids, you know, kids like a lot of freedom. And my husband's just like, ooh. Like, isn't this thing uncomfortable? No. What's uncomfortable is without. That's what's uncomfortable. And so
I just
yeah.
had this epiphany because I always have to wear a hat to bed.
Oh,
And
you do?
yeah, most of the time, I mean, if it's really warm out, I won't need a hat. Um, but I get so many people joking about that. And I was like, this is my African roots. That's why I have to wear a hat to bed.
There you go. You gotta wear your head to bed. Even when it's 90 degrees.
Right. It's like you said, you just feel naked without it.
Yeah. You do. You do. What would you say you enjoy most about your hair? I'm not gonna say
Uh,
what you find frustrating. This is a positive show and we love ourselves. What do you
hot,
appreciate the most about your hair, would you say?
well, I am quite lucky because my hair is not too thick, and I can pretty much I can pretty much wash and go. So I don't need a lot of, unlike my daughters, well, my oldest daughter who really does need to take care of her hair and brush it daily. I can
Mhm,
get I can get away with a really light brush. In fact, I use a
mhm.
pick comb for my hair because it's so fine that
Uh-huh.
I find that's the best comb.
Sure.
Um, so that's one nice thing about my specific hair is it's not it's not too hard to manage.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, how about
Cool.
you?
Um, hmm. Well, you know what? I guess I can't. Well, I guess given that I opt for braids all the time, that's primarily my hair. You know, people always there's always this thing about what really constitutes your hair. Is it the hair that's naturally on your scalp or the hair you buy? And I always say it's both. So my hair means both, you know.
Right,
Um,
right.
well, with my short afro, I just love that it you can breathe. You know, it's very I guess you find that with short hair anyways, when it's short, you know, it's just very there's a lot of air. You know, yeah, you it's just very there's air, you know, you can breathe. But that's a little more labor intensive to keep up with, you know, all the combing. I got an afro comb for that, and the moisturizing is at a different level where you have you know when you're wearing your natural afro, and with braids. Oh, well, I guess also I like just that my hair is versatile in the sense that you know I can buy it, I can and buy any style I want, or do whatever I like with my natural short hair. You know, it's very versatile. I mean, I can look drastically from Gracie Jones. You know who Gracie Jones is?
Yep.
Yeah, he shows our age, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Is it Grace Jones or Gracie? I think they called her Gracie Jones. Grace Jones.
Yeah,
This bold, beautiful, like dark skinned
James
lady.
Bond.
I'm sorry?
She was in James Bond, yeah.
Yep, yep, yep,
Yep.
yep, yep. And you know, she typically would wear her hair very short,
Yeah.
bald. Actually, she would just shave her hair, and you know, you can do that from that way to like Beyonce. You have like this big, big locks,
Right,
all the
yeah.
bounces. So I mean, it's all good. It's part of the joy of living in the 21st century where we have options, right? You
Option.
can, yeah, you can really transform yourself in whichever way you like. It's all beautiful. So.
Yeah, so with that, we've managed to talk about hair for 25 minutes.
Can
And
you believe?
and I have learned more than I've known in 20 years about hair. So so next week, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to keep it light again.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet, right? With regards to next week. But you know, if you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll tune in again. I'm sorry, Emily.
Make a suggestion. What should we talk about
Yeah.
next?
What would you like to talk about? You know what? I had an idea earlier today. What was that? Oh,
Don't forget
anyway.
to press subscribe. Press
Yes,
the
and don't
subscribe
forget
button.
to press subscribe if you want to find out on in the podcast form. We're on Spreaker and all the major podcasting channels, so to speak. Okay, well that's it. I guess that's it, right, Emily?
That's
Anything
it. With
else?
that, I have to go brush my daughter's hair.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, whether you're tuning in now or later. We do appreciate you taking the time, and we hope you found it as fun as we did. So, again, press subscribe. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.
All right.